Hello, happy Wednesday, everybody. I am really excited to be here. I'm really excited to be saying happy Wednesday. It feels like after the whole summer vacation of, just routine disruption, it feels like we're almost ready to get back on track with routine. School starts next week, and I'm so excited about it. And so this is kind of, the last final stretch for most of us parents in England. I know school timings are different wherever you are, but we're almost there. So anyway, I just want to say hi, welcome. I'm Lindsey Hall. I'm an intimacy and empowerment coach. And what that means for me is that I love to help women and men and all humans, but particularly I work with women, deepen into intimacy with themselves and with others, and own their pleasure and their power, and live a joyful life that they absolutely love. That is what stands behind all of the work that I do. That is the thread that runs through every piece of work that I do, every client I work with, everything I post, all of it. So this tea break chat. So I'm so glad that you're here. So if you're new to these, I come on every week and I talk about sort of just life chat, first of all, stuff that's been going on for me in the past week, what's come up, lessons I've learned, share that sort of stuff, and then I answer your questions. So this week, I feel like for the last few weeks, if you've been watching, I've been talking about kind of like sitting in the mess of things, and that hasn't totally dissipated yet. But it is starting to sort of, I don't know if I want to say resolve itself, but really the big thing I've been sort of sitting with and being with this week has been just letting that be and really, really driving home the point to myself that you don't need to fix the mess right away. You don't have to necessarily do something about it. And it's quite possible that this is just a repeat of what I said last week, because some of these things take time. And I don't remember exactly what I talked about last week. But regardless of whether I did or didn't, it's definitely coming up again this week. And really, like I said, the biggest part is the just knowing that it's just part of the being and not having to rush through it. That doesn't mean wallow in all of the all the time forever and ever. Like, that's no good either. But not trying to rush through things and not catastrophizing things. So a huge thing for me in past patterns of mine, for sure, but still shows up now sometimes, is wanting to rush through and fix things, or like if something big happens, thinking like, oh my gosh, this is the biggest thing ever, or like, so for example, I was in a fight with somebody last week, and oh my goodness, is that hard for me. Conflict is still really not my favorite thing. I mean, we get better and better at conflict, and I now actually really see conflict as a chance to deepen an intimacy with people. However, that works much better with people who actually want to deepen an intimacy with you. When the conflict was somebody who, it's not an intentional goal, it is harder, not gonna lie. But anyway, so even though like I now see conflict as a way to deepen intimacy, it doesn't mean I love it. That doesn't mean I'm like, yay, I'm here for the conflict and here for the fights. I mean, I'd really still rather find other ways to do things. But nevertheless, conflict came up and it was hard on my nervous system. It was like, oh my gosh, these terrible things are happening, and like this is ruined forever, and it's the end of the world, and oh my gosh, like, we're never gonna recover from this. Like, I can't see the steps forward. Like, what's gonna happen? Do you really think any of that was entirely necessary? No. So in those moments, then, what I did right then and there, if I'm, the like, when you're in the heat of all of that big stuff, was, for me, I have a coaching package with my coach where I have Voxer access, and I can drop in and leave her voice messages, and we do coaching and via voice note. So I went straight into Voxer to my coach, and I was like, okay, this is what's happening. I'm in it right now. And mind you, she is not there. My coach is not there to be like crisis manager by any means. So she is not 24/7 available to me for in-crisis management. That's not the point of that at all. But she does hold this space, and I try not to use it for like crisis stuff very often, but sometimes it comes up. So at that moment, I went in, I said, this is happening right now. My body is all afluster. I said, what I need from you right now, this is to my coach, is to see me and to witness me and to know that, I am not these horrible things. I am not this horrible person. Like you know, as my coach, how hard I've been working behind the scenes on this kind of thing. I have not gotten it perfect. I don't, we never get it perfect, but I needed her to just witness that and say, yes, you are not a horrible person. We know how hard you're working. We know how you stand in your integrity. And then it was a case of recognizing what my body needed and getting my nervous system regulated, because at the time when we're in conflict, my nervous system was all like, freak the F out, run away, ooh, all of that stuff. And that's not a place really for anything good to happen, to be totally honest. So I know the tools where I can turn off my phone, do some breathing, some deep breaths, calm my body back down again. That night, what did I do that night? Wrapped up in a big blanket, like a pile of blankets. I just wanted to get cozy and just hibernated for a little while. I didn't want to talk it through with a bunch of people. Sometimes talking it through and saying it out loud is a big thing of mine. It hasn't been this past week. This past week has been more introverted, going in, just letting it sit. So like I said, I told my coach about it. And then I hibernated for a while and just let my body calm down. Oh my goodness, is that helpful? And then I had the realization that that makes it sound like it's a brand new thing. I remembered this idea of zooming out, and that the things that feel like the end of the world right now will not feel like the end of the world forever. In the long run of life, there's very few things, honestly, that are going to be like the big things. There obviously are some. There are some like defining moments and life-changing moments or events, but not a lot of them. Most of life isn't those big, massive events. Most of life is in the day-to-day that all just, it all adds up and it's all very cumulative to your life. But any individual moment or event isn't usually that individually significant. And reminding myself of that, and reminding myself that I could step back and go, okay, this feels like the worst thing in the world right now, but it's probably not going to be. If I give this space, if I give this breathing room, if I just recognize it doesn't need fixing right here and now, things will have time to evolve on their own. And that's been kind of the whole week. And when I said I've been more introverted this week and just letting things be, and there's been big stuff going on, and I just haven't been ready to talk about it all yet. Some of it's good stuff, some of it's bad stuff, some of it's, in fact, I don't even want to say good and bad stuff, because we have this view that things need to be good or bad. It's this or that, this binary system. And that is just bonkers and not the case. There's so many more options than good and bad. Things can just be pieces of information. So I have been gathering pieces of information about lots of things over the past few weeks. And actually, what's sort of been happening is I've been gathering all these pieces of information, like little puzzle pieces of life, and just kind of I look at each piece as it comes in, and then I put it in my bag. And I feel like I've got this tote bag of information right now. And soon it will be time to dump out the bag of puzzle pieces and kind of, look at it all together and see what I can make of the puzzle. But there hasn't been any need to overanalyze each individual puzzle piece of information, if that makes sense. Like I said, sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm a huge talker and I want to go to my best friend or go to my coach or go to somebody else and be like, this, and dissect every last thing about that thing. But at this season that I'm in right now, it's been more like, okay, these things are happening. I'm noticing these things. I'm giving it space. I'm just collecting the puzzle pieces. I'm noticing how my body feels. There's been some, oh my gosh, this is big stuff. There's been some, oh my gosh, this is good stuff. There's been I can't do this. There's been, I can't not do this. There's been so many things, and I'm just giving it time to collect the information in my brain, but also more importantly in my body. And like I said, just noticing how my body feels as the puzzle pieces come in, as they've had time to just chill out in my bag. And then I really hope you're following my example here. I'm talking about these puzzle pieces of bags. If you're just jumping on now, you're going to be like, what's she on about? Anyway, and then I'm going to dump out all the puzzle pieces and see how my body feels when I look at it as a more collective picture as well. I don't even want to say whole picture because I'm not sure there ever is a whole picture for much of anything, because life continuously evolves, doesn't it? There's always new puzzle pieces being added in. This is some sort of like evolving 3D puzzle where like you get a whole bunch of pieces and you can see what the picture is, but then as more puzzle pieces come in, picture might evolve, but at the moment it's I'm collecting what's, there's going to be a picture taking shape here, and I think the cool realization has been just that, remembering that you don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to have all the puzzle pieces immediately. You don't have to know how you feel about the things immediately. You don't have to fix the things immediately. You can just let things be sometimes. And now I feel like this is sort of funny when I'm like, oh, just let things be and unfold as they will, when like coaching and like in my world, things move so fast, like insanely fast. Time is this crazy concept. And when I look back, it's this fluid concept. And there's so many times, including right now probably, where I'll be in something that feels like it's taking forever. Like, oh my goodness, either like no progress is happening or like, I'm just not getting anywhere. I'm here again. And then I look back on things and I'm like, oh, that didn't actually last very long at all. That happened really fast. Or things that in the past would have taken me weeks or months to process now happen in days or hours or minutes. So time, like the cool part about coaching, I think, and the coolest part about coaching is how it condenses time, how you can do all of this stuff, all of these realizations you come to, all of the actions you take, and like all the stuff that you do in coaching, you could do on your own, most of it. Okay, not all of it. We have too many blind spots to do all of it on our own, so I actually take that statement back. You could do a lot of it on your own, but coaching condenses it. It makes things happen faster. It makes things like stuff, that like where if the waves of life would have been that big, with coaching you can make them like much faster, and just life, it just speeds things up in so many ways, which is amazing. But it doesn't always feel that way. And so I'm just sitting, giving it all time, giving it space, trusting that the pieces are coming to me as and when, and that the puzzle as a whole, the first whole of whatever this evolving puzzle is, will come to me. And knowing that none of it is an emergency. None of it is decisions here and now. That's not to say that like in life there's none of that. There's obviously some decisions that need to be made here and now. But I'm talking about like my stuff going on right now. That with most interpersonal relationships, I would say there's, things. There's not a lot of emergencies in those kinds of situations. There's a lot that feel like emergencies, but actually there's usually time to just step back, give things breathing room, give them time to unfold, see how your body feels, and let the answers arise, if there are answers to be had at all. So that's where things are at. How am I for timing? Ooh, I should probably move on to the Q&A bit. But that's where I'm at. And the other thing, actually, I will add on to that by saying, so when I talk about like dumping out the bag of puzzle pieces and looking at things, that is something that I'm going to be doing with my coach. And that is very much something that I recommend using coaches for, whether it's me or somebody else. It is so insanely helpful to have somebody sit with you while you dump the puzzle pieces out and take a look at them. You might do something with those puzzle pieces right away. You might not. You might decide, actually, I don't want those anymore. Get rid of those. They don't fit. They're not part of this puzzle. They're part of something else. That's just old wrappers that have been at the bottom of my bag. Like that is, I don't. But you might then end up with like, ooh, and this is the stuff that's left. This is the stuff that I want to do something with, that I want to keep, that I want to dig into more. And that is, I think, especially like when you first start coaching with a new coach, that is such a huge benefit, is just having somebody there to sit with you and dump the bag out and go, all right, let's look at what we've got here. Where do we want to start? So if you're like, oh, I have all this stuff that I want to unpack and hi, I can do that with you. I am really good at sitting with you while you dump the bag out, making sure that you know right here and now you are safe. It doesn't matter what you find inside that bag of shit that you dump out. Like, we are safe. We can go through it together. We do not have to explore all of it right here and now. We can go, you know what? This is the save for later pile. This is the do now pile. This is the get rid of forever pile. This is the how to get in there in the first place pile. And we can do that together and start to make sense of these things. So that is absolutely a huge skill of mine. It's something that I think, you should expect in a lot of coaching. And we can do it together if you want to. So if you're interested in that, check out my website for my Elevate coaching package, or my Expand coaching package, which is 3 sessions. We can still start to do a lot of that bag dumping and investigating together in that. And send me a message or book an intro call with me to see if we're a good fit for that. Okay, I don't usually do that pitch in the middle of this, but it was relevant and it was the right time and I had to tell you about it. So there you go. Okay, moving on then. So I've only had one question this week, and it's a good one. And it is, well, say it's hard to answer. There's a big, easy answer and also a harder, longer answer. The question, such a simply phrased question, but such a big, loaded question, was, does divorce get easier? And my answer to that is a big, resounding yes. Slowly, eventually, but yes. So this question came from somebody who is new in the divorce process. It's still pretty damn fresh. Things suck right now, to be totally honest. And like, even just reading the question, like, my heart felt for this person. I was like, oh God, do I remember that part of like, please, dear God, somebody give me assurance that this gets easier. And because at the moment, and when I said yes, so my answer of yes eventually does. And I know, because I did go back in text form to that, and then I'm going to come on here with the longer answer. But the response was, right now it feels like it's getting harder. It feels like I'm going backwards. And yeah, it can feel like that. But I promise, as somebody who is 3.5 years post-divorce, post-split up is what I'm talking about, who has been through the ringer with it. And honestly, some of the mess that is going on now is with my ex. So I'm not telling you it all goes away. I'm not telling you it is all perfect, but I am telling you it gets so much easier. So much. Oh, that reminds me of another life thing I was going to talk to you about. I'll talk to you about it next week. And so yes, it's not because time heals everything. So honestly, I do not believe that time heals everything. In a lot of cases, actually, time on its own can make things worse. It can just make things fester and boil away and become infected and get, gangrene. Time can actually do horrible things sometimes if left on its own. So it's not time by itself that heals, but it is the space that time gives you where you can do that healing work. You can, like I said, it can be slow. It can feel even slower. All of this stuff for me has felt so slow, but looking back, I'm like, oh wow, I came really far really fast actually. Like, how did that happen? It sure did not feel like it at the time. But you've got that space, you've got that time to do the healing work, to do the journaling, to talk to a therapist, to talk to a coach, to rediscover yourself again, to find what you love, to pour into yourself and the kids, to forgive, to learn to forgive, to learn how to set boundaries, to learn how to protect yourself. And I don't mean protect as in like putting up massive walls, but I mean setting boundaries that keep your peace, prioritizing yourself. All of that stuff takes time. It takes practice. You're gonna get it wrong sometimes. You're gonna set a boundary and then you're gonna let it get breached and be like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. And then you set the boundary again and you try again next time to maintain it. There's gonna be emotional outbursts. There's gonna be big, messy feelings to deal with. All of that stuff has to happen and it takes time, but that is all part of the healing process. And please, please, please let me just advocate so loudly and clearly for the forgiveness piece, because holding on to the anger and the bitterness and the resentment and the hurt from the past doesn't hurt anybody except you. You might feel like, I do not want to forgive that other person for the pain they've caused me and all of the hard stuff, but holding on to that doesn't actually hurt them. It does not punish them. Maybe a little bit, but far, far more, it is punishing yourself. And I know it can feel so hard to think about even possibly like letting that go and moving on and forgiving, but this is the best thing you can do for you and your kids and everybody else in your life by a million miles. So whatever you need to do to start working on that piece, and it's also talking about forgiving yourself. I am not just talking about forgiving the other person. I mean forgiving yourself too. But holding on to all of the anger and stuff, that just eats you up inside, and it's no bueno for anybody, okay? It's definitely not. But I promise that if you do that stuff, if you start to take those steps, no matter how slow they feel, no matter how many times you go, 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, maybe 1 step forward, 5 steps backwards. But if you keep doing it, you will have more forward steps than backward steps. You will be making progress. It will get easier over time. It's not going to look like, smooth linear progress. You've all seen the memes. It's going to look messy and squiggly and up and down. But eventually, you keep doing it, you keep showing up, you keep doing the work, you keep going, and it does get easier. I promise, okay? So I hope that helped. I also obviously need to do the plug for the Divorcee program, because that can help with some of that. So on my website, lindseyhallcoaches.com, I've got the Divorcee program. The one to answer this particular question is the divorcing module. So there's a doubting period where you're like, should I stay or should I go? Then there's like divorcing when you are in it. That is what we are talking about here, in the mess. And then there's dating, which is like ready to move on. So there's that. But then also you can do coaching with me too if you want to. If you want one-to-one support on this and really have somebody there to hold you through it, because my goodness, did I need that when I was going through mine. It was just some days you feel like you don't know what's up from down. You don't have a clue what's going on. Like, how on earth do you see a path forward? Especially, if you're going to be setting up co-parenting and changing schedules and like all the stuff that comes up with that. There's a lot. So I can help you. I've been through it. I am occasionally still in bits of it, like I said, but thank goodness for me, like the worst is definitely in the past. Most of, I'm pretty clear on the other side, but I sure remember what all that's like, and I help women with this stuff all the time. So if you want to do coaching with me on this, please let me know. Drop me a message. Send me, book the intro link. Book the intro call using the link. You do not have to go through this alone, though. I promise. And I know it might still feel too early, or it might feel like, yes, I am gasping for air and I need to hang on to a lifeboat. Wherever it is, I will be here. You know how to find me. And I promise it gets easier. So that's it. That's me for this week. Yeah. I've already done, I usually end, sorry, I just had a blank moment there. I usually end by talking about how you can work with me. I've kind of already done that because I did the yeah, I've sort of told you that. But just a quick recap. You can go on my website, lindseyhallcoaches.com. I've got the Divorcee program up there. I've got some other programs. Also, if you want to do one-to-one coaching with me, the package details are on my website, or you can send me a message and I can tell you what's available. But essentially, I have 2 one-to-one coaching packages right now. Expand is the first one, where you get 3 sessions that can be used anytime within a 2-month period. We can go into, like, if you've got a specific thing you want to address. I just had a client in the past few weeks who did that, and she wanted to figure out whether she was going to stay in the corporate world or leave to be a stay-at-home mom for a while. She booked the 3 sessions. We worked through things really quickly. She came to a decision. She took the action. She's deciding to leave the corporate world. Like, boom, boom, boom. Got it done in 3 sessions. It was amazing. So there's that for specific things. Or Elevate is the one that I keep shouting all over from the rooftops about. Elevate is my longer term 3-month coaching package. You get 3 calls a month with me. You get Voxer access, so coaching by voice note Monday through Friday. Seriously cannot brag that up enough. It is like lots happens on our sessions, but so much more happens in between sessions. And having that voice note access in between is, for me and my coach, completely invaluable. So it's why I offer it to you guys in that coaching package too, because yeah, life doesn't just happen once a week or once every 2 weeks. Life happens all the time. So having that in there really makes a huge difference. I've just noticed, little lady, you've changed your Instagram handle, haven't you? Sorry for those who are watching it later. So somebody just commented and I noticed that she's changed her Instagram handle. I like it. Anyway, those are the options. So yes, you can find them more on my website, or like I said, the link is in my bio to book the free intro call with me to do our vibe check, see if we're going to be a good fit to work together. But let's do this. Let's do this, shall we? Okay. That's it. And now I need to go to the grocery store. My kids come back this afternoon. I need to go buy enough food to feed them for the weekend. And I'll see you back here next week after school has started. Yay! All right. Love you all. Bye.